still won 15,000. Was the most money I'd ever won at one single venue. I went to so many rodeos, nobody really wanted to rodeo with me. That and probably my attitude. We stopped at the payphone before we got in the airplane, and he called the news desk in San Antonio and said, "I just got a scoop that." My wife reminded me not to cuss.
Oh, you can cuss.
You know, I was no, I can't. Not with them. She said. I went on Ty Harris's podcast.
Yeah, Let's Freaking Rodeo or something.
Something like that. Haley Kenzel canceled on him or something, and I'm at the same hotel, so he calls me. And he sends me this big long text, and I'm afraid of touching my telephone, trying to. And he sent it, and I texted him back, and I said, "Is this Ty Harris, the calf roper, Ty and Joel?" And, and he said, yes. And I said, I was worried you were a scammer. I said, yeah, I'll get up and come down there. So I go down. I said, I get scared of touching my phone. I said, was thinking you were a scammer of some sort. Trying to, hack into my
right. You
Facebook
never know these
or whatever.
Days.
And I mean, I said, somebody's trying to sell me Viagra or something. I said, I probably ought to buy it, but I don't have Venmo. I'm thinking, fire.
Yeah, you never know who's going to call you these days. Would you like a ranch fuel?
Got water.
We can get you a water. There's one in my room up there, Jordan.
I can't hardly stay hydrated out here.
Right?
Never have been able to.
Well, you're up late, and then you're early mornings.
Well, it's not up late, because I've been getting back to the hotel, between 10 and 10:30. So
that's not bad.
In bed by 11, and the last year I qualified here was in 1985. First year it was out here, because the go round is paid double. I never, I had my daughter was like 3 months old or something. And I never got to the hotel before daylight, all 10 purse.
Oh, dang.
And I'm riding, I'd get to the hotel, just daylight, and then I'd sleep till 4, get up and go to the rodeo.
Yeah.
And just had a ball.
Yeah.
Ricky and the Red Streaks.
How do you think it would have affected you had all of your NFR qualifications been in Vegas?
I don't think, it would have made any difference. I mean, the venue doesn't change the circumstances of why you're there.
Yes, sir.
Because you're not here to, you're really not here to party, but seeing as how I thought, well, I was going to quit riding and just go to work. And after I won my 8th world title, and then they announced the move, and the go-rounds went from $4,500 for first to $8,500 for first. And I thought, crap, dang, I got to go try that on. I rode 5 out of 10 that year, and I still won 15,000. Was the most money I'd ever won at one single venue, including the NFR. I won 15,000 twice at the NFR 79 and 85. And then I won 15,000 one day. I won Cheyenne in the afternoon, and I won Nampa, Idaho that night.
Oh, dang!
So then that paid 15,000 too. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah. The inflation has kind of changed the game a little ever since then. But
brand new Cadillac cost in 1975. I won my first world title in '74. Brand new candy apple red Cadillac with white leather tuck and roll interior cost $5,100.
Dang. It'd be neat to
had an 8-track tape deck in it too.
It'd be neat if you still had it.
Oh God.
There's no telling where it is now, huh?
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
No, we wore them out pretty good.
Right. Yeah, you guys, you put a lot of miles on them probably that year.
Oh, that year. I bought another car the next year.
Right.
I had 120,000 miles on it, and I was starting to fly my airplane. And from the middle of '74 through the rest of my career, I've got over 12,000 hours now.
Oof.
It's a long time to sit on your butt in an airplane.
Yes, sir. Did if you weren't flying, was a Cadillac typically what you were taking to the rodeo?
Yeah, because I went to so many rodeos, nobody really wanted to rodeo with me. That and probably my attitude. But I had a couple of guys, John Davis and Don Graham. They traveled with me a lot, but shoot, and the last time that we had the buddy system, and the last time that I really had just entering with somebody, you had to get traded and all that, was Lane talked me out of retirement in '89 to take him rodeoing.
Really? Dang. Did well, your brothers were rodeoing too, right?
Yeah, my older brother Pete.
Right. Yeah. Was he riding broncs?
Bulls and bareback horses.
Okay.
My brother is just, was just 180 different than me. He'd rather win second and not have to do a winter interview. And that's for real. That's not just, a talking point. He doesn't say anything. He used to, from the time we were 5 or 6 until I was 22. Well, no, for 5 or 6 to 17, he beat me up nearly every day. He was a Golden Gloves boxing champ,
So you're talking real fights.
Real fights, yes, fist fights. I grew up in a really tough environment, and I could never whip him, but they could never make me holler calf rope.
Yeah,
I would never stop. And my dad would always say, Pete, Donnie's going to grow up one of these days and whip your butt. Yeah. And he whipped me the last time I was 22 in North Platte, Nebraska. And I told my dad, we were talking, I wanted to bull riding. And I said, no, by the way, I said, stop saying I'm going to grow up and whip Pete. I can't do it. I quit.
It's just not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen, no. But I spent my whole childhood trying to be as good as my brother. My brother rode better than I did.
Yes, sir.
So
did you guys? Was the culture of rodeo? Were there actually more fights going on back then, like you hear in stories?
Absolutely. This is not like in today's environment where you can tell a bald-faced lie looking right at somebody and get no repercussion. You usually had to go to the dentist after that.
Yeah.
Pretty quick after that.
Yeah.
So, it was right, wrong, no BS. You could have broken ribs and, grimace, and somebody would say, I'll quit whining.
Yeah. Right.
It was, I felt like, being among the top guys, being a bull rider, that we were the toughest guys in the room, and we could prove it day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nobody took a back seat to anybody.
Right.
And just because you had a gold buckle, that means zero to your real cowboy friends. You're either a friend or you're not.
Yes, sir.
There's no middle ground. My dad one of his favorite sayings was, "You don't halfway rob a bank. You either did or you didn't."
Yeah. Early 70s. So you were rodeoing a lot around Larry Mahan too?
Yes. Yeah, first NFR, the year that I graduated from high school, I started rodeoing and had a couple of big wins. I won Indianapolis, and and it looked like I had a chance to make the NFR, and I had just an ugly old pair of chaps. When I knew I was gonna probably make the finals, Larry gave me his silver chaps. I mean, I rode in the silver chaps of Mahan's, had his initials on them and everything. I rode in the 72 NFR and 73 NFR. And then he gave me the gold chaps for 74. I won my first world title. Then I rode in a pair I had made, and I rode broncs in them a lot. Had rosin on.
You bet.
Swells, and I rode in them in 75, and then at the end of 70, I went back to the gold chaps in 76, and then 77 I got my green chaps.
Was it as iconic to get to use those back then as it is now looking back, being as that it was Larry Mahan? He was the icon then.
It was such a thrill. Wasn't even funny, but I knew Larry, personally, because he lived in Dallas and I lived in Mesquite, and he'd fly in and out of the Addison airport in his airplane. And I traveled with him quite a bit in his airplane, and it was. Those were my best days.
Yes, sir.
The most fun days. I look back and I'm in the back seat of his airplane. We're flying from Salinas, California to Ogden, Utah, working Salinas in the afternoon, and then Ogden that night. And me and Steve Koska, a bareback rider, was in the back seat, and the guy that wrote the book On Down the Road, the rider, he was darn near in the baggage compartment. But Larry and Miss September playmate was in the right front seat, and I couldn't have got my chest stuck out anymore if somebody had stuck an air hose in me.
Dang.
Man, look at me.
Yeah. So you knew it was a big deal even right then.
Yeah, I went and Larry Mahan is probably, outside of Jim Shoulders, the greatest cowboy for professional rodeo that there's ever been. Larry started, the fashion trend, the long hair, and women entourage. We were going to the rodeo at San Antonio, and I hopped in the airplane with him. And
RodeoTime.com is the only website that should exist because it's the greatest apparel line that has ever existed. So go there now to get a t-shirt, a hoodie, a cap, a vest, whatever it is you need. Go to RodeoTime.com, old son. Total Feeds is what keeps the herd powered here at Radiator Ranch, and Total Equine is what I've been giving Boone for 10 years. He's 24 years old and still going strong. You can get it on Chewy.com or a dealer near you.
We stopped at the payphone before we got in the airplane, and he called the news desk in San Antonio and said, "I just got a scoop that Larry Mahan, the world champion all-around cowboy, is coming to San Antonio this afternoon to ride in the matinee performance and be flying into, I can't remember the FBO at the airport in San Antonio International." And hung the phone up. We got in a plane, flew down there, and we pulled up to that FBO and went to park, and they rolled out the red carpet and, the big TV cameras on the tripods, those great big cameras and stuff. The news channel newscaster was out there, and, interviewed all of us stepping off the airplane. It was, you could have shot and killed me right there.
Yeah.
That just were the best moments.
Yes, sir.
Kind of my life. It was just a lot of fun.
And wasn't Chris Ledoux rodeoing around then too?
Yeah, he won the world in 1976, but from 72, 73, he was really a tough bareback rider, and not the best one by far, but you didn't have to be. It didn't matter if you were Larry Mahan or Chris Ledoux or Chick Elms or Bobby Del Vecchio, or, you were either a cowboy or you weren't. Mm-hmm. Chris had the crappiest old van he traveled in. I mean, it was a rattle trap, and he'd strum that guitar. And if I heard Bareback Jack one more time in the early 70s, I'd have slit my wrist. It's funny how fame, and doing really well, and for him to do some of the singing gigs that he did, strictly on vocals, just, I'm going, wow, a guy can actually do anything if he tries hard enough.
Did you know, I'm just curious, about, and I asked some of the guys from the 90s that I've, the bull riders back then that, Jim Sharp and some of those guys at this same question, but did you know as you were going through it that you were writing essentially, just this writing history for pro rodeo? Did it feel like that to you going through these world championships?
From about 1979, that was the year they opened the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. And, we had a bull riding jackpot there. That was part of the induction ceremony, and I was still riding, and I got inducted. But it just wasn't that big a deal. I basically missed my induction to the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame because it was, that's a retirement thing, and, another what I thought was another stupid photo op, But I was about riding bulls, and the difference between me and everybody else that rode bulls, I actually absolutely loved bull riding. I could get on one at 8 o'clock in the morning and, be just fine with it. And it didn't matter. I see guys getting on practice bulls, Pooch LaRouche. Well, it's not doing you any good. Other than just keeping your muscles engaged and stuff like that. So, it's better than nothing probably. But if you're not getting on something that scares you a little bit, not helping.
Yes, sir.
You ride bulls at a higher level from the inside, the adrenaline, that sort of thing, that you can't turn the light switch on and off. Now, the bad news to that is when you reach the top, you still can't turn that switch on or off. You think you can, but you can't. You're never as good. That's focus, is whenever you react and allow your body to react with what bull sense you've gathered. I hate being real technical, but you look at my physique. Of course, it's old now, but 5'6", 143 pounds to 151, and that was it. And if 152, I wasn't riding worth a damn. 151 back, look out. Yes. But that was, I talked game and all that kind of stuff. But once I slid up on my rope and I nodded my head, I was, a little Energizer bunny. I just reacted, and I let my instincts take over. Veterans Night last night. Do you think those guys, when they were in a trench and people dying all around them, and they said, get up and take that next hill into that kind of fire, do you think they thought about it, or they did something? Well, you trust your training up to a certain degree, but you have to trust your instincts. Mm-hmm. Who in the world jumps up and runs at a machine gun? So, and not that bull riding is anything like that, but it's the same thing. People go, well, how could you do that? I said last night, that pen of eliminators is just bunch of hard to ride bulls, and everybody wants to be a bull rider. You know, when you got the night before's pen where they're just a bunch of spinners. Anybody can do that to some degree, but when things go to getting hairy and you got to get your face down there where you can get your teeth knocked out, and do it on purpose.
Yes, sir.
That has to come from the inside. You're not going to think clearly and actually do that.
Yes, sir.
Or you're really some kind of stupid.
That's when I knew I didn't want to ride bareback horses anymore.
Oh,
you know, I really enjoyed the hoppers, and then I did not enjoy the eliminators at all, and I couldn't get my mind off of, you know, just the fear side of what would take over in the buck and shoot.
You know, people say, well, you know, you can't be you know, if you're scared, you know, get a job. Well, that's just a cliche. You know, fear is the best motivator. I mean, you know, look at our schools. If you really want discipline, then the first time somebody talks and you've told them to be quiet, you get them up there and you bust their butt. You know, you've got to fear the repercussions of something. You got to fear not winning the championship. You got to be afraid to get that inner adrenaline going, and that's just my opinion, you know. But you know, there's a picture of me with Harry Tompkins and Dude Smith and me on a calf when I'm 5 years old. Well, I was looking off and I was crying. I didn't want to ride. I wanted to talk about it and play like I was a bull rider, but I didn't want to do it. I was scared to death.
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, I harnessed that fear, and I mean, I wanted to do it so bad, but I think that was the extra catalyst for me. If you're not afraid of getting on a bull, then you really haven't thought that, you know, he really could kill you.
Yes, sir.
All he got to do is step on you wrong. Look at Lane Frost. I mean, I've seen worse wrecks than that in the bar.
Yeah.
You know, that bull just hit him in the wrong spot, broke a rib, severed his aorta.
Yeah.
You know, gone. You know, so if that, you know, if you don't know enough about what bulls can do, you know, the vest and helmet, I mean, it's just false sense of security, and the helmets make it harder to ride. If I went to get on one today, I wouldn't wear a helmet for certain. I might wear a vest if it didn't feel too restrictive. You know, I wore a sweater vest. You know, but I thought I was the baddest, toughest guy in town, and every night I'd prove it.
Yes, sir. So when you say you don't have control of turning that switch on and off, which switch is it? Explain that to me.
That's the mental switch to not think, react, not be too tight. It's like if you think, you know, if you ever taken a golf lesson?
Yes, sir. I didn't learn much from it, but I did.
They can't teach feel. They don't know how hard you're, you know, they say, well, that putt breaks from left to right. Well, it does, but it breaks differently depending on how hard or soft you hit it. Mm-hmm. Nobody can teach that. That's inside of the human anatomy, and you have to have talked to yourself. You know, my brother would say, you know, BS yourself. Positive thinking, you know, Jim Shoulder said, oh, positive thinking, my butt. He said, if you don't think you can do something, it's pretty near sense you ain't gonna. Yeah. I'm going, well, isn't that positive thinking in reverse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same, but it's not the same.
Yes,
so, and everybody would access it differently, you know. bull riding is, I mean, I rode, and I didn't keep real any kind of accurate stats. But if I didn't ride close to 90% of my bulls, I couldn't pay my house note.
Dang.
And are the bulls ranker today than yesterday? No. There's a lot more. There's a jillion really good, great bucking bulls and some really rank ones. But there were some really rank ones in the 60s. Tornado would have fit right in any of these pens.
Yes, sir. Just not as many of them.
Red One would have fit in there. General Isimo would have fit right in there. But there were 5 out of the 15 that would have fit anywhere in any generation. There were 5 more that's what you normally, everybody got the money on. If you could ride at all, you could ride one of them. And then there were 5 that were just trying to help you sell tickets, chasing you down, belly rolling, big 2,100-pound brindles. That was no fun. Those are the ones that actually hurt you, pulling your groin muscles and stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you, the breeding program for the bulls is they have these bulls, their conformation of their bodies are so perfect. I mean, they have no sheath. They got muscles in their ears, and they are just catty. I mean, they're just little athletes.
Yes,
so if they really want a buck, man, they got a great opportunity. Their body's going to lend to, they're really going to have a lot of action. Well, the bulls today probably have, if I was going to say, give them the front row seat, I'd say they have quite a lot more action overall out of the 15 in each pen every night. But like the Eliminator pen last night, that bull Ice Tray that Trevor Rice had and the bull Cool Whip that Chase Dartery had, they should have been at home on the ranch. You're supposed to have those pens fairly even where the draw doesn't take center stage as far as winning a championship and winning go-rounds. Those 2 bulls were truly eliminators, like from back in the day. They'd have fit right in with the monsters that we thought were bad. Didn't have nothing on them 2.
Yes, sir.
But for the other ones, and I think they have to do a little bit better job of picking the bulls that actually come to the rodeo, like the bull Josh Frost rode. Had a bad start. He bucked in the chute before he came out, and then that little old bull was totally lost. And I watched about 4 videos on him, and I thought he was the toughest bull to ride out of the 15, other than those 2, because there are 20 bulls in the 15, where you have re-rides. And that bull was totally lost, and only because he'd been bucking I don't know how long. That bull's been on the trail getting diesel smoke and settling down. And you know all about it, how the, handling livestock. That bull in those 4 videos, I don't think had been ridden a total of 6 seconds out of the 4 videos.
Dang.
Well, when that bull messed himself up on the start, he was confused and just went to whirling like, what's going on? It's like, okay, you're going to start a foot race and gun goes off and everybody's took off, but well, wait, let's do it again.
Right. Yeah.
That's what that bull looked like.
Yes, sir.
So it's an amazing thing, but suffice to say that kind of like the money, equipment, the bucking chutes and stuff for the livestock. I mean, all of that matters. It's better today than it's ever been. If you are considering being a bull rider, well, that's not near as stupid as it was in the 60s and 70s.
Yes, sir. What do you think about today? So, of the guys that are bucking off and making mistakes, what are some of the most common mistakes guys are making today that you're just like, hey, this is a no-brainer. We need to fix this. Like, is it the same as back when?
A lot of guys. Most of it is really kind of the same mistakes through the year. You know, if you're, I mean, like they don't do it now. One of the mistakes they make is like going to 2 rodeos in a week in competition and maybe getting on practice bulls a day or 2 days of the 4. Well, there's still 3 days left. Guess what? You can have 3 brand new razor sharp knives, but you know which one's the sharpest? It's the one that gets the strap the most. And you don't need to practice bulls. You need to practice winning. I went to 150 or 60 rodeos a year every year. And, you know, they won't even count the money at that many nowadays, which is stupid.
Agreed.
My opinion. You can't buy a world championship. You do have to win when you get there.
Right.
So, but, you know, when the rodeos were paying, you know, $400 to $800 was a pretty decent rodeo. And I had a $205 a month 30-year note for my house. It came every month. You couldn't go a month without winning. Well, now you can and win $10,000. And let's don't talk about ground money. That's unearned money, so it shouldn't count. But I'm not going to say anything else about it.
Yeah, no, I'm with
you enter a rodeo for what first is going to pay.
Yes, sir.
And outside of that, go buy a lotto ticket.
Right. Yes, sir. So, so you think some of the mistakes are maybe more made on how a guy rodeos, not necessarily
how a guy rodeos, but all of that will always circle back. I didn't answer your question.
That's all right.
Got to rambling on. It's overthinking, being too meticulous about something. You know, you need to get your routine and stick with it. You know, thick or thin. If it's a good routine and has yielded good results, why would it not continue to yield good results? I mean, that's duh.
Yes, sir.
You know, bull rider looking down at his rigging bag with his lip stuck out. And I said, would you be looking like that if you'd have won the go-round? Well, no. And I went, well, duh. It's your attitude. It's between your ears. What you do, whether it's Dale Brisby or whether it's Donnie Gay or whether it's Hayes Waite, you got to believe it. And no matter how bad it gets, you're going to make it.
Yes, sir.
You're going to make the whistle. You're going to be successful. It's because, you know, success is not a destination. It's just a direction. But every day you have to be thinking, today I'm going to do good, that affirmation. And then if you do that enough, it comes to fruition.
So is that pretty much what we're going into the 8th round tonight? There's a few guys that haven't ridden a bull yet. Is that pretty much what you would tell them?
I already have.
You already have.
I mean, they're my friends, you know, and that's let's see, this is, I tell you how bad being 0 for 7 is, you know, it's either that or walking out to the wall for the firing squad for you to be, you know, I can't picture anything worse. But it happens to somebody nearly every year.
Yes, sir.
And then all of a sudden they'll jump out and win a go-round, you know, and too little too late is what news media is going to say. But you don't have total control over that switch, and so whatever it is, that switch, it came on, he won first. and it's liable to be Hayes Waite tonight.
Yes, sir.
Wasey Shala. You know, those two guys, Hayes Waite comes in number 2. You know, T.J. Gray came in number 1. And they've had everything go wrong that could nearly, except they're still pretty healthy getting on.
Yes, sir.
You know, so all they got to do is just, you know, don't give in to the negative Nellies out there and poor me's. You're the bull rider. You're it. You're the baddest guy in the room. You're the baddest guy in the rodeo. Go ahead and be it.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll happen. I mean, you don't know when, and you know, and if they were to go over, I don't believe it. Is that going to change their name? No. Going to change their DNA? No. We're not in make-believe world. This is real world. You step over the chutes, you got to be the baddest cat in the room. And, you know, and if somebody would have asked me, I'd have told them that I was the baddest cat in the room. Yeah. And they're all just wanting to vomit. But, you know, that's the persona that I believe is the most successful.
Yes, sir.
You can get a little over the top with it, but
I've known those guys. I've never personally,
I've heard. I like the hardware.
It's a big old buckle. Did you ever win a buckle this big?
No, I did not. I won enough of them to cover it up, though.
Yeah.
Touche.
That's the best answer I think we've had yet. Oh, shoot.
Well,
yeah.
What'd you expect?
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like that just comes out, and I've said it, and people just, want to throw up. But, they say, who's the greatest bull rider ever? And I'm going, me. Don't ask me if you don't want to know.
Right.
Or no, don't ask me if you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
It's my opinion.
Right.
But, go ahead and beat me and guess what that gets you,
Yeah.
One more buckle and a cup of coffee, maybe.
Yeah.
This is all personal. This is, when you're an independent contractor, and team stuff doesn't excite me at all. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. I hate to say it out loud, but I mean,
me too.
We had season tickets in the end zone at the Cotton Bowl in the 60s. So, yeah, I'm a homie. I want them to win. Do I want to put a sack over my head? Well, I hadn't got a big enough one. I got to go to Walmart to get one big enough to go over my cowboy hat. But I'm still going to go, or I'm going to watch. I'm going to support. I don't jump on and off the wagon. I try to just be me.
Yes, sir. Yeah. No, that's respectable. And I mean, you got 8 world titles. Sage just went over to the PBR. How many does he have?
7.
Was it 7? Yeah. I knew it was
I know
close.
exactly how many it was.
Yeah, I looked at Donnie. Daytona. I should have looked at the other Donnie.
I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I told him a few years ago, and I told J.W. Harris, both of them had an opportunity to break my record. And I said, I wouldn't go to the PBR until it was the last stop on my career, because it's totally different than riding in rodeos. The atmosphere is a little more laid back. You don't have so many different time constraints, but you just rodeo on the weekends, and I use that term because that's an old school thing, just cliche basically. Those guys, the bulls are top level. They're like Saturday night bulls here. In fact, some of them are. They go to both.
Yes, sir.
But there's never a let up. You never, the bulls are not as tough, with one stock contractor in a Nebraska or a Kansas rodeo, you can get a day off and still win money practicing winning.
You talking about with rodeo?
Yeah.
Yes,
and
sir.
with rodeo, you could do that. You do what we call duck off. Go to Spooner, Wisconsin and Manawa, Wisconsin instead of Calgary. I did that one year, won more money than I ever won at Calgary. So a lot of ways to skin the cat. But in the end, I just, my statements, I wish Sage would have stayed, got the record, and he wanted to win 9, not 8. Get the record. Wonder how much PBR would have paid him to come be PBR 9-time champion of the world. The ultimate. And J.W. Harris was the same way. But you go there, if you're not 100% healthy, or you get to riding bad, the bull power doesn't let up, and you can get all the wax knocked out of your ears pretty quick. And I don't care who you are, that becomes 10 times harder to recover from, to get your mojo back, so to speak. And like I mentioned, the team concept. It's been done before, but to me, that's just corporate headquarters and making money. I can't imagine. And I don't care what team they're on. When that gate opens, I'm watching the bull ride. I'm watching the bull rider and the bull, and could care less about aggregate of the team, because I know who's the best one on the team already. And I don't like watching bad football either. But, if I was one of those top guys and I was one winning all the money, I'd tell my teammates either start riding better or give me the money.
Yeah.
Y'all sit on the bench.
Right.
It's more like being an employee. And I've never had to have a job, and I just don't want to be an employee. Never have, never will.
Yeah.
So the television is the closest thing to a job, that I've ever had, and being the general manager of Frontier Rodeo, basically what I am is Jerry Nelson's valet. I fly him to wherever he needs to go, or his customers. He has, a huge business in the oil field business, and Frontier Rodeo, Heath Stewart operates that just as well as, they won their 10th consecutive stock contractor of the year title. I'd like to think I have, something to do with that, but if I do, it's a very small part, and it's promotional aspects of it. But, just to have been around so long and to actually have some real relevance, that's my biggest win so far, probably.
I hope you're enjoying ranch fuel as you're listening to this episode of Rodeo Time. Use code DALE on ranchfuel.com for 15% off, old son. Drink up and use code DALE on ranchfuel.com. Hey, old son, if you're not feeding every morning with a Can-Am side-by-side, then you ain't no cowboy. I got a Can-Am because I needed a reliable ranch rig that I could use every day, because I don't know how to work on stuff like that. So I want something that's not going to break down ever. Get yourself a Can-Am, old son.
Yeah. No, your role that you play with, Frontier, I wanted to ask about that too, just because, man, the horses are just, and it seems like their depth in their stock just never ends.
That's the difference. My dad asked me, so what's the difference of you working for Frontier Rodeo versus Rafter G? And I said, Dad, I said every employee, first thing in the morning, they got a smile on their face, and when you put the last one in the barn, they still got a smile on their face. I said, with you, it was mean face on from Wednesday to Saturday, drive all night, unload them, where we could get up Sunday morning in the middle of Sunday morning, drink coffee and gripe. There was just not enough money. My dad, if you were smiling, you weren't working hard enough. That Depression generation, they were a different breed of cat.
Yeah. What were some of the things that your dad was iconic for?
Starting the Mesquite Rodeo, raising 2 kids, and you're nothing but a steer wrestler and saddle bronc and bull rider and bareback rider, putting on a rodeo every Saturday night, and that's how you paid the bills. And the good news is Jim Shoulders was his partner, and he was still riding. So when they had to pay the bills, Jim would have to come out of his pocket, and get all the bills paid. My dad was in debt from the time I can remember back in those days. He started the Mesquite Rodeo in 1958. I was 5 years old. We sold the property, the original Mesquite Rodeo property, in 2000. And my dad had a 1,100-acre ranch leased in Terrell, Texas, and that arena sat on 11 acres in Mesquite, Texas. We did a land swap, real estate land swap. So my dad got 1,100 acres for 11 acres, and it was the first time when the baseball players bought the Mesquite Rodeo. That's the first time my dad had ever been out of debt. That was in 2000, from 1958.
Dang.
So he worked. We worked, my brother and brothers and I, we were working like adults when we were 8, 9, 10 years old. Gathering cattle. You'd have 50 head of corianders out in the brush in a leased trap somewhere, and my dad would drop us off and say, "There's 50 in there. Don't come to the barn till you got all 50."
Yeah.
And Pete and I'd go get them and get all 50, and then wait for him to come back with the truck and trailer and get a load of the cattle and take us to lunch.
Yeah.
So we grew up. It was tough, but we didn't really ever know we didn't have any money. We did everything at school. We had clothes and had a house to live in. But I can look back and think, my gosh, it was enormous, and his mental stick-to-itiveness, I don't think has ever been surpassed by anybody that I know.
So I can picture you working a rodeo, and then you got to get on at the end of it. That was probably a lot of those nights at Mesquite. That was nothing for you.
Nothing. And that group of stock contractors, my dad, Jim Shoulders, Reg Kessler, the Canadian. I'm at Red Lodge. I'm the champion of the world in 1974, and I'm up in the bull riding, and I'm standing in the arena fixing to watch the bareback riding, and I got to go to Cody. I'd come from Cody and riding at Red Lodge, riding Cody, Red Lodge, and Livingston all in the same day. And I'm standing there in the arena during the bareback ride, and Reg Kessler's picking up and rides by and said, "Donnie Gay, open chute gates." I said, "Okay." So I went to unlatching the gates. I didn't have to pull them, but there's like 12 chutes at Red Lodge, and they're all full. So we had the bareback riding, and Reg comes loping by just about the time the last bareback horse went out of the arena, and he said, "I need you to untie calves." So I said, "I got this, Reg," and so I went out, and I untied calves, and there was a guy sitting on the fence. He looked like a lumberjack, had hair about like you got, and a beard, and I'm big,
a good-looking guy.
Well, back then it was long-haired hippie, but a big guy.
Yes, sir.
Reg rode by and told him to get off the fence. It was blocking the view. Rode by again in the bronc riding. I was unlatching gates, and I watched him. And when Reg would holler, everybody at the rodeo could hear him. You know, it was just like that Cotton Rosser, Reg, my dad, just screaming and hollering from the time the band started playing. Once the band quit, they were fine. but he rode by and he told that guy, and he said, "You blankety, 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 I told you now, don't make me come by here and knock you off that thing." And he finally got down during the bronc riding, and I thought, well, good, because Reg was going to knock him off the fence.
Yeah.
In front of all these people. And the announcer stand was grandstands over the back of the buck and shoots. So the bull riding's happening. Well, my bull's in the second chute. It's an NFR bull. Oh, I remember Bonaventure, white Brennel, down horns, had a lot of Bremer in him, just turned, but just a nice bull. Rode him. Got off. Had to finish opening chute gates. Unbuckling my shaps, you know. And I think Marvin Shoulders might have been there, might have been open. I think he might have run the latch for me. I mean, you know, Reg didn't have he couldn't afford to pay everybody, you know, somebody for every gate like they do now. And I'm opening chute gates, and I got to about chute 7, and I saw this guy. He's standing on the back of the bucking chutes. We got down, that last bull, Reg flanked him. I opened the gate, and bull jumped out and threw the guy off from Rodeo, and the announcer's up selling the Rodeo, and Reg just steps down off of that back of that buck and shoots and turned around, and that old boy hit him. I'm talking about sounding like you broke a 2x4, just curse, splat. Down they went. I mean, and the people in that box seat area with the announcer, they got a front row ringside seat to as good a fisticuffs. I mean, it looked like, you know, barroom brawl at Dodge City. You know, just, I mean, going at it. And finally they'd knocked each other down about 3 times. And this is about 2 minutes. Good fight.
Dang.
I mean, a good one. And Reg got up and he's huffing and puffing. You know, of course, he's 50-something. And, you know, and this guy looked like he might have been 30. And Reg said, all right. He said, by golly, he said, we can either keep on fighting or we can have a drink. And that old boy said, let's have a drink. You know, I mean, it was typical old school, and I thought, you know, some things never change. But, you know, it was just almost a matter of course. You know, everybody got to watch a, you know, good rodeo, won a little money in the bull riding, and watched a heck of a fist fight.
Dang. Wow.
I love rodeo.
Yeah. No, that does sound like an old school story that there's no telling. We'd have all seen that one about 5 minutes later these days with the internet.
You know, and that's another thing that, you know, it's a good time to be a bull rider, all this money and everything. Well, it comes with a price. Mm-hmm. You know, these guys have no privacy, I mean, anymore. Stuff that comes out on Facebook and TikTok and all that mess. Yeah. Gosh, a lot of us have been in prison. I mean, you know, it's the distraction. Mm. Remember this focus and the light switch,
yes,
as far as being able to have that reaction when the gate opens. Man, this, you know, 24/7 guys out signing autographs, doing interviews. If this had been 85, you'd have had to wait.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have come.
Right.
You know, I mean, not because I didn't want to be on your show.
Yes, sir.
Because I did, but nothing came before bull riding. My daughter, who was born in 1984, Terry and I got married in 1977. I wasn't going to allow anything to be used potentially as an excuse for not doing what I have shot my mouth off and said I was going to do. Mm. And I knew I had it in the bag by September of 84.
So,
I mean, I just knew it. And,
yes,
and you know, so I know it's been 40 years since I won my last world title. Yeah. That's how old Tally is.
Yeah. Dang. No, I think that, you got to be careful. And, I don't blame anybody who, everybody that's been on the show this week has not been entered. I don't blame them, even if they were to tell their sponsors, like, look, you can have me the 11th round,
Yeah.
But
I mean, can you meet me at the airport?
right.
I mean, it's not that they don't want to do it, but I mean, I just, Larry Mahan, when I was talking about him calling the newspaper, he started all that mess, but I, of course, didn't realize it at the time until I saw the cameras and, he's self-promoting and inadvertently bringing rodeo a lot more visibility than we would have ever had. He could do that. But then again, you've never been around a more mentally strong, capable guy in your life than Larry Mahan. And so I learned about self-promotion and I had, my hair wasn't as long as yours, but I had way more hair than my daddy wanted me to have. I had my own distinct groove going on, probably just did my own mind, but that's the only place that mattered as far as I was concerned. Right. Pretty self-centered, but I was very, very focused. I didn't want to be the 8-time world champion bull rider. I wanted to be the world champion bull rider. That's like forever.
Yes, sir.
Still, somebody said, what are you? I'm the world champion bull rider. Well, I am.
Yes, sir.
And in my mind, I still am. And so you pay a price for everything that you do. But I've been really blessed to have had the kind of career that I've had. And that came directly from the dirt and from 1958 in Mesquite, Texas. But the biggest thing, in effect, my dad had on the rodeo world is he and his friend from New York, Alan Reed, put rodeo on television on a regular schedule every Sunday night, 9 o'clock Central. And that actually is the reason my dad produced the very first PBR event in Texas Stadium. And we put the PBR on the map. They were all dressed up and no place to go. And TNN, we had 3 Sundays of rodeo. And Mesquite Rodeo was a little rodeo, money-wise. I mean, you could win $300 for first. Well, but it ran April through September every Friday and Saturday night. So we filmed Friday and Saturday night, edited it to one performance, showed it. I'd go to Nashville every Sunday on the Nashville network. That won the Cable Ace Awards like 4 times out of 14 years. We were the longest running weekly TV show. We went longer than Gunsmoke. And my dad directly responsible for that because he had the facility to set up to do the weekly show. And that's, and so that just became another job besides opening chute gates and untying calves and plow the arena. Step in the broadcast booth, tell somebody what they were looking at. Mm-hmm. And, so it's just an evolution.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a life if it's not in rodeo.
I love Mesquite and cut my teeth there. Like it was like some of the, I don't know, it's probably the arena that I've ridden in the most as far as just number of rodeos, and I love it. There's, AC in the summertime, and, you always, I don't know, it's a fun place, and it's an iconic place. I think it should be absolutely full of contestants. That is, it's always full of spectators, but I think it should be full of contestants.
The way things transpired, was testament to my dad and Jim Shoulder's hard work. Larry Mahan they sold shares in the Mesquite Rodeo Corporation, and Larry Mahan had bought shares. I mean, everybody, they knew they were struggling. Cajun Kid, the bullfighter, DJ Gaudin, he bought shares in it. I mean, a lot of cowboys, did, and they all got their money back in 2000.
What was the bullfighting like in those late 70s, early 80s compared to it is today?
No comparison.
No comparison.
None. And I'm not dissing any of the bullfighters. Good bullfighting actually originated with Wickpeth. He would, back before the bulls would all turn back, you could have one of those bottom 5 I was talking about. Mm-hmm. I got a picture at Cheyenne. Wick is crawling under this bull's neck. He's jumped up in there, and I'm reared back, hamming it up. He turned this bull back 4 different times. 4 trips underneath him at Cheyenne, and I helped me make the short go. I got a good enough score, got a good enough trip out of that bull to make the short go. Skipper Voss is the guy that begun to do bullfighting. When he came in the late 70s, his moves and things were, it was like finesse. And Rob Smets is on the scene then, and he's the kamikaze kid. So those two were the two, and then there were guys like Jimmy Anderson that never seemed to ever get out of a trot, but he was never in the wrong spot as far as saving a guy. But when I started, if Wick wasn't there, there would be guys like Bob Romer, who was not all that talented a bullfighter, but he was fearless. And, the stock contractors loved hiring him because he was just bait, and that helped you. My dad told me one time, I was getting on Rodeo Red at Mesquite, and he said, well, you might be a little overmatched. He said, but you could ride him if you get lucky. He said, but if you don't, get under him and help me sell some tickets. It was that kind of mindset. Mm-hmm. My grandma chewed my dad out, for being mean to me. That bull broke my nose, went to the hospital, got stitches. But I paid him back. I won the go-round on him at the NFR the next year.
There you go.
I got out of high school. So
yeah.
Wasn't overmatched this time.
Yeah. That's the first text message you would have sent had you had text messages.
They didn't do that then.
Yeah. So
you had to go open the door and get in the booth.
how do guys like Webb and Tuckness and Nate all compare to the Wickpeth days?
Individually, much better athletes because they work out. Wickpeth just grew up in the era where you just worked, mm-hmm. and that was part of work, kind of a bonus for him. But the Choctaw bullfighters are, and I watched them together before here. They've never done a better job than what they've done so far this week.
Dang.
And I guess, and a big part of that is because I'm sitting there watching it on the monitor, just closely. And I've seen them fight bulls here individually, but I guess to me, it looks like that they set aside their ego here, mm-hmm. because they all think they're the best and believe they're the best. Or know they're the best in their own minds, but they set aside their ego and they work together in tandem. It's like a symphony orchestra has nothing on those guys. I watched them unhang, I don't know, it was Wasey or somebody, Dusty went in, tried to grab the tail, missed it, got knocked out. Webb was right behind him just to, that as that bull would make his turns, Webb stepped in there and he got knocked loose before he missed it, and Justice did his step. He stepped right in there and he got it.
Yeah.
And those other two, they didn't stop and shake hands. They kept that bull going. They had that bull rider in sight, and they do that instinctively. And I'm just so impressed. It's not even funny. the television is beginning to show some of the subtleties of what they do. And I know one thing: they don't print enough money to get me to do what they do.
Yeah. It's crazy. I love how aggressive they are to the bull. Just the moment, a bull rider's hips get out of whack, and those guys are just on them like a pit bull.
They see it.
Until the bull's out of the arena. Yeah. And it seems like there's, some bullfighters that maybe, like, hey, let's get this guy safe, and then I want to get on the fence as quick as I can.
Well, it used to be, and I mean, of course, it's a joke, but it was pretty close to accurate. You'd see a clown hat come between you and the bull, and you'd hear somebody hollering, "Get up!" Yeah, that's about all the help you got.
Yes, sir.
And I always believed, and I think guys should take a listen to what I'm going to say. When I rode bulls, I didn't need a bullfighter. Because I rode good enough to take care of myself. It's kind of like being if you're hurt and you can't ride, then you can't make a payment. You're not very good. So if you're on the sidelines, you need to get better. You have to protect yourself. You don't quit riding until you get to the fence. And I mean, and that was true then, and it's true now. No matter who's out there, if you go to depending on something, that vest to keep you from getting a strawberry or broken ribs or worse. Of course, the helmet. I love telling the joke. The helmet. That bull's foot is, let's call it this big around. You own them. 1,400 pounds average, coming from 8 feet average, kind of like a jackhammer, and it hits that little plastic hockey helmet in the ear hole. That's like wearing a glove in team roping and cutting your finger off. It doesn't save your finger, but it makes it easier to find it in the arena. So you can't wait on someone or something to save you. Remember, you're the baddest cat in the room. Prove it.
Yes, sir.
Take care of yourself. And that's I think that's guys have a little bit of a false sense of security with the vest and the helmets. Hang on just one more jump. Well, getting off is as important as getting off to a good start.
Yes, sir.
First jump. And you come off the side and get stepped on and break your leg, too bad, so sad. That's your fault.
Yep. How do you feel overall about the sport of rodeo? Let's say it's 2024. How do you
really?
Yeah. Let's say it's 2024. Thanks for stating the obvious, Dale Brisby. How do you feel about it looking forward as far as 2034 or 2044?
At my age, I don't even buy my bananas too green at the grocery store. Rodeo, I think, will, with the television coverage that we've had with the Cowboy Channel and, now Teton Ridge taking that over, so there's not going to be a lapse, so to speak, as far as spectators, people that like and enjoy watching rodeo. I expect that to expand, and a lot more things happen east of the Mississippi, actually where all the people are, except they all came here to Las Vegas, in the traffic jam. But I think, the sky's the limit for rodeo. Common sense has to rule the day a little bit, but I think it will continue its growth. Sometimes, what did you see where they paid this highest paid baseball player? 700
something, yeah, crazy money.
Okay, so no, that's not crazy. That is absolutely obscene. So at some point in time, too much money causes as many or more problems than not enough money, in my opinion. And sometimes too much money causes way worse problems than not enough money. That scares me a little bit. You need to believe, or the way I think, the way I was raised, and what I believe is you need to be earning the money that you're getting. If it becomes too much excess, you might start acting like P. Diddy or something. I just...
So you're not saying bull riders need to make less money, or
No.
people in rodeo, obviously, but you're saying there's a danger sometimes that comes with guys that get...
You need to know that you're earning it. It was, taking responsibility for children, young kids, 15, 16, 17. Our parents did us a disservice trying to make it easier for each generation. I want to make it better, make it easier. Well, we've done that. We've made them get gold teeth and flashy outfits and doing all this and but are they tough enough to get it done? Can you go 10 rounds in the bull riding?
Yeah.
So there's a danger or
entitlement.
The entitlement thing.
There's a danger of
I'm
entitlement.
glad you said that word. I'm going on and on, but
I see what you're saying. Like if you don't want a generation of bull riders to come along where it's just a little too easy. You ride one bull and you should get, and it's great that bull riders are making that much money, but there's also, we don't want to lose the fact of like what it takes to earn.
One of the biggest changes that'll have to happen to rodeo, like, and we go to talk about the ground money. They don't count it for the all around. Well, that'll affect Wacy Shala at some point in time down the road when he comes here in the bareback riding and the bull riding. If they're not going to count ground money, when you can win, if you're the only guy that makes the whistle, it's $101 or $3,000. So I don't care how they divide the money. I mean, I used to get ground money checks from secretaries. It'd be like $3 because everybody got, the fourth place that nobody qualified for split 30 ways. Everybody that was entered in the competition. Well, but what they'll have to do is they'll have to quit making the world champion will not be the guy that wins the most money. It's going to be points, the number of bulls ridden.
So you think they should count ground money?
I do not.
Oh, you don't think they should?
No.
Gotcha.
I do not. Not for points. I think they can go spend it at the beer joint, but or grocery store or gas station.
And the reason being because like
they didn't earn it. It's the very definition of ground money is unearned money.
Gotcha.
So, and that's just old school.
This is kind of a deep track of rodeo. Can you kind of just give the definition of ground money, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know what it is you're talking about.
Okay, so 1 through 6, and I don't know the payoff specifically, but first place pays $33,000 something dollars.
Yes, sir.
And
a lot of money.
And it's like 29%, 26%, 23% for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. They ride one bull. All of that money, first through sixth, in each go round, added up is $101,000 or $103,000. I heard them say the number. Mm-hmm. If you're the only one that qualifies, you get $101,000 that will count for points in the bull riding, instead of $33,000. Mm-hmm. And you came into the NFR with a $10,000 lead. Mm-hmm. Well, somebody could put an asterisk on the championship. I would never.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm a guy that it's right is right and wrong is wrong. That's the way the rules are. Everybody knew it before they came. Everybody knew it all year long.
Yes, sir.
Ground money was going to count. So there's no asterisk. That ground money, just gets divided up and put in the guys that made a qualified ride. They got ground money in a couple of performances already.
So if it's two out of 15 that ride, they would divide that. You'd get your first place money.
First and second pays what it pays, and then from third through sixth, all of those totals are added together,
divided by two. So it seems like I remember one year, it wasn't that long ago, Clayton Fulton did it.
And wasn't it like
80
something thousand?
Or something.
I mean, I said, that's twice what my first brand new house cost. Yeah. Wow. I was tickled to death for him.
If I remember correctly, though, it didn't upset the world championship
ground money.
year.
Ground money didn't count then.
Oh, okay.
Only
okay.
what first place paid, and I think at that time it was
Gotcha.
like 22,000 or something, maybe 10,000 or so less than what it does now.
Yes, sir.
So, so it's almost a matter of semantics, but I disagree with that. But I'm a rules guy, and so that's the way the rules are. Butch Kirby won the world in 1978. That was the last year of sudden death. I won second. I won $30,000 more than he did. I won the PRCA championship. They quit doing that. They thought that would help sell the rest of the tickets, but it didn't. It's like teams or anything else. It's the individual competition every single time, whether it's barrel racing or bull riding, breakaway roping. It doesn't matter. You're watching the run. That's the competitor and the livestock.
Hey, Bro-Tater Chip, if you like getting swole-o-matic, then get yourself some Protein on MountainOps.com. Hey, or if you just like being healthy, whether you're trying to bulk up, get healthy, have energy, go to MountainOps.com and use code Kevin for 20% off. Ever since I started riding bulls and punching fools, I've been wearing an American hat because I'm an American. I actually wore a different hat before that for the longest, but then my mom got a job. So wear an American hat, old son. Otherwise, you ain't no cowboy.
And so that with the ground money counting in bull riding, what you're saying is the ground money doesn't count if, for instance, Wasey Shala were to, in his all-around race.
Right.
Yeah.
In other words, Shad Mayfield doesn't have to worry about him.
Correct. Yeah.
But maybe next year he might. Because Wasey will be back, but they know that going in, so, rules are there, and the bull riders talk to their director, and they go to the board of directors, and that business administration and the PRCA. You talk about a tough job.
God, I cannot imagine.
You really can't. It's so I feel for him, but I was going to. Butch Kirby beat me in that, and what I said at the time was, we have a great world champion bull rider, just not the right one.
So what you're describing is was it 2 years that essentially once you get to the NFR, the slate has been wiped clean, and it's whoever wins the most at the NFR, correct?
The most money, yes.
So you had won if you counted your year like they normally do, you had won the most money, and then at the NFR though, Butch won it
in 78. I won it outright in 76, and then I wound up. They didn't know you could wind up in a tie. They, being the PRCA NFR commission. Randy Majors and I wound up tied. That's the only ride-off in the history of pro rodeo.
Down to the dollar.
We were tied.
Wow.
And the judges are looking around and going, we can't declare a winner. And I said, well, we're damn sure not going to flip a coin. I said, there's 4 re-ride bulls back there. Let's flip a coin for which one we got. And let's keep riding. There were 4, so we could get on 2. And Randy bucked off, and I stayed on mine. So I won the only ride-off in history to win the sudden death 1977 world title. And then in 1978, I won second. And, you know, I was disappointed. I had done what I had been doing, winning the most money. But I said, we have a great world champion in Butch Kirby. And there was no asterisk. That's the way the rules were. And that's the same as when I dissed the ground money issue. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. So, what did they only do that 1 year? With Butch Kirby?
No, three.
Three.
76, okay. 77, 78. Those are the year that Chris Ledoux won his world championship. He came in like maybe fifth in the standings, in the top 15, and he won the most money at the NFR. He won a world championship. Jack Ward won it twice in 76 and 77, and Joe Alexander had come in the lead all three times and never won one. It cost me one world title, and Roy Cooper is the only one that clean slated him. They never did beat him. No matter he was so good they could change the rules and couldn't beat him.
It didn't matter the rules.
That's what I said.
Yeah, it didn't matter the rules. Yeah, I guess that's one way to do it. But yeah, But how many total NFRs did you make?
13.
13. Good heavens, that's such a great 8 out of 13. You ended up winning the world. That's those are really good. That's a good ratio.
You want to know what the most exciting feeling that I've ever experienced in rodeo? Was qualified for my first NFR in 1972. I got out of high school in May, and went from there to number 7 in the world. I think I'd won a total of like $14,000. Spent every nickel of it trying to win it. The world titles are great, but growing up the way I did, I was sitting on the front row in a box seat in 1959 at the first NFR in Dallas, Texas. So, my Super Bowl, that's the most exciting moment when I walked into Oklahoma City. Gosh, where I watched Freckles Brown ride Tornado. It just, still gives me goosebumps. Yeah.
Well, it gives me goosebumps just imagining it. I can't imagine witnessing and actually experiencing it. What else is there? Is there anything? Is there another memory that you just find yourself like going back to and thinking about every time, like a certain win or something? That
not really. The best ride I ever made. I scored my high score was 97 on Oscar at the Cow Palace in 77. That was kind of a highlight. My wife was there, and Bob Tallman. And the first time I met Bob Tallman, he was working for Bob Cook, who owned Oscar. And, so we have that history and to break his record. And Oscar was such a great bull. What people don't realize, you go back and try to find a bull that's been to the NFR more than 4 times. Oscar had already been to the NFR in 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, and didn't retire until I rode him in 78 at the NFR.
Dang.
How good was that little
golly
bull?
No
well,
kidding.
I scored 97 on him, but the Red One ride, last go-round of 1976, the first year of the sudden death, I had to be over 90 points with somebody. We'd ridden the same amount of bulls, I think 8 or 7 at the time, but I had to be over 90 points on Red One and win first place to win the day money and the average, and that's the only year that I won the average at the NFR. They gave a cool little buckle. My wife actually wore it out here yesterday. But I had to ride him and be 90 and there were only 2 bulls that I thought I would be automatic over 90 points. It was Red One and Generalissimo, and I drew Red One. I'm going, it's me. I got this. I mean, I just knew I had it, and I was 95 points. Comes up on the scoreboard, and Clem McSpadden says 94, but they misadded. It's 95 in the record book, but it's not really the score, but it was the circumstances. First year of sudden death, here I've won 2 consecutive world titles, and I could lose one, because I didn't handle the rule change as well as I should. But to ride him on that night at that particular time and score 95, Sandy Kirby was runner-up. Randy Majors, if he would have won, if he or Sandy would have won 3rd place or more, they could have won the world. But
dang, that's a big moment.
Joe Cool bucked off Randy Majors. I do know that.
Yeah.
And I rode Red One, but the circumstance made that my greatest ride. And what's the feeling of accomplishment and the for it to come to fruition just like it's supposed to. I mean, it was just awesome.
Yes, sir. That's super cool. Well, it's an honor to have you in here. I was nervous about what it'd be like with 2 of that. I mean, we're in the argument. It's usually just who people come down to Dale Brisby, Donnie Gay, JB, and so I was nervous about the tension between us and how that would play out, but I feel like we've gotten through this conversation.
No tension, and you have really helped the whole rodeo business, because most of the time, a lot of us take ourselves way too seriously.
Yes, sir.
You obviously don't. Is that my only dig in here?
No, that's good.
So you're one of the. I mean, like, I wasn't even really sure maybe until last year what a podcast was. Kind of like I didn't really know.
I think it's a new form of doing what your dad did with TV. And basically, in my opinion, everybody's now got a TV in their pocket.
You put it out there, and if they like it, they're going to watch it again.
Yes, sir. But back then, the challenge was you had to go through a network and maybe an agent, and you had to have the approval of a lot of middlemen. And today, myself, Ty Harris, and Rump Chat, and we all get to just put it out there. And if people want to hear it, we go straight to them.
You take your bat and go to home plate.
That's it. Yes, sir.
Swing it. Yeah. And it's interesting. And I go to thinking back. Well, that was it. No, that wasn't the other day. Shoot, that was 10 years ago. So it's fun for me to try to play keep up with the business. Because it's just now it's burgeoning into the rodeos are paying more, plenty of money for a guy to be able to, buy a house. And I see these guys that's got their kids in the truck, the camper, and they're not having to rough it. They're pulling that pickup truck and camper into the resorts world and stepping out in the valet and going in, a nice hotel, and it's just it's good to see. I mean, yes, it's fun. I know my dad and Jim Shoulders and Reg Kessler and the guys. They're watching the rodeo. They're going, well, them kids are doing all right.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you laying the groundwork and essentially just building the foundation that we get to continue to build the house on. So that's been huge. And you're continuing to do it, and your involvement, your passion for the sport is undeniable.
I tell you, one of the things, people, will say, well, boy, doesn't signing autographs and taking pictures get old? And I'm going, no, I'm getting old. I said, somebody comes up and wants their picture with me. I'm glad somebody wants it. Mm-hmm. At this point, back when I was riding, I might have been a little short a time or two. But to be able to broadcast and talk about the bull riding and commentate and do the color, I feel like if I'm having fun, whoever's watching is having fun with me during the bull riding, and to be, still be relevant and being able to talk about it. I mean, I have people every day come up and say, I've been watching and listening to you since I was a little kid, and they got a gray mustache, and I'm going, I said, did you like it? He goes, like it? Heck, I love it, and I'm going, I do appreciate it, because that's why I still have a job.
Yes, sir.
I get to where, not delivering results, so they'll get somebody to replace you. I know that.
I was running around with Cowboy Cerrone, and he's a UFC fighter and Hall of Fame, and he gets asked for autographs all the time. And in his words, he said, somebody said, do you get tired of people asking for a picture? And he said, no, because one day they won't want it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, getting put out to pasture, that's, old guy's worst nightmare now.
Yes, sir.
And that's the number one thing in my life is, as a competitor, professional athlete, when a football player or baseball player gets to where they can't hit it out of the park or make a touchdown, they have to get a job, or they have to quit. They got to cut it off right at the wrist. You don't get to do that anymore. I've been able to transition my life as it revolves in rodeo to still be here at 71 years old, and I'm just truly thankful.
Yes, sir.
To be a good part of it.
Yes, sir. I feel the same way. I the opportunity that I have in getting to be a part of rodeo, I kind of had to take my own small path and carve a niche. But if they turn the internet off tomorrow, I know that I didn't take one day for granted, just being a part of this sport.
That's awesome, because I can remember when you started, and to say that I might not have been your biggest fan, but I didn't know how, I thought, what in the heck is he doing? He rides pretty good, but you've done well. And I enjoy and appreciate the invite, to be able to be a part of it.
No, it's an honor to have you on. I really appreciate it. And we normally wrap up with life advice. So do you have any like one-liners or life advice?
Yeah, I love rodeo. I've been blessed, but if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards.
Yes, sir.
Success is not a goal.
Yes,
Success
sir.
is just a direction.
Yes, sir.
So, sky's the limit.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it, everybody. Donnie Gay, you've heard his voice and you've heard him commentate, and now we've talked about all the bull riding, the 8-time world champion, and we appreciate you coming on, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Dale Brisby.
I appreciate the invite, and we'll do it again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.